Welcome everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. Annual or monthly RMB Council meetings are live streamed at facebook.com/BelfastPEI. Live stream comments are not monitored in real time during the council meeting. Visitors, please remember to sign in. Thank you. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which our organization stands is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abway, Mi'kmaqi, is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this land for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. Do any members of council have a conflict of interest with any items on today's agenda?
I should mention that if Tricia was here, she would have asked the question if she was in conflict of interest, but it would be a community of interest because she's on the fire department and we're going to be discussing the
unit as a whole.
Yeah, so she would not be in conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you, Will. All right, may I have?
Hold on.
No.
Here.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I was just wondering if we could move the number 9 to after the in-camera. I feel that some of the discussion items in the in-camera might inform number 9.
Can we do that?
Sorry? What?
You can do that if you want to.
I just feel like I don't want to disclose items in the in-camera session, so just to say that one of the discussion points may inform that decision.
Okay, we'll do that then. Thank you, Charlie.
So moving that to after the in-camera.
So item number 9 on our agenda is going to be moved to 16.
Oh, I see, never coming back to it.
Yeah. Just do it after.
Everybody in favor of that? Okay. So is there any other suggested agenda items for today's meeting?
I would like to add one, the municipal emergency management meeting.
Okay, Ashley?
Also like to add, say the date for all please.
That'll be number 14, B and C.
Is that everything? Okay. May I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented and amended? So moved by Charlie, seconded by Billy. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, RCMP report for the month of April. Admin Ashley.
Thank you. The numbers are up slightly from last month at 25 incidents. The previous month we were at 14 in Belfast. There were a few false alarms, so that brings this number down. I connected with our CMP regarding complaints of litter on Macaulay's Wharf Road, as per council's suggestion, and the file was opened. I'm told that there will be additional patrols in that area as a result. That's it for the RCMP report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Public presentations, if any. Members of the public are offered 5 minutes to make a presentation to council. Reminder that should any member of the public wish to speak on any issue on today's agenda, this is the time allotted for that. All other agenda items are reserved for council's participation. Are there any public presentations tonight? We have one presenter.
Doug really wants to say something too.
Nothing.
Come on, do a dance here in the middle.
He's It's just being silly.
Okay, we have no presentations. Adoption of the April 15th, 2026 council meeting minutes, previously distributed and they're attached currently, and all suggestions have been changed and already incorporated. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2026 council meeting minutes? So moved by Ben, seconded by Charlie. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Adoption of the May 13th, 2026 special council meeting minutes have been attached. A mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the May 13th, 2026 special council meeting as presented. Moved by Charlie. Seconder, Lynn? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, next is our CEO report. Bob.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing really much to report because we've only actually had 1 month of expenditures and revenue, so everything's on track so far. I do want to say that all 26-27 community grants are on a payment schedule to pay out earlier than last year due to a healthier cash flow balance this year. This is the first recording month of the 26-27 fiscal year, and everything is on track as projected. Our books are scheduled to go to the auditors again sometime in May, June, and they are prepared to do the audit early, similar to last year.
Anyone have any questions on the CIO's report? Okay, so now we'll go to number 10. Okay, purchase of an audio-video system for council meetings. Presentation by Councillor Bryson and administration Ashley Fester.
Okay, so as many of you know, I've been using my phone in order to record these meetings for the last, 3 years. And it's proving to be a little bit challenging to do that for me. So we've been looking into some alternatives that seem to be working for other groups. I printed off some information about the OWL for council to review. I'm also looking at a couple other ones, but I'm also speaking to multiple sources regarding their experiences with this technology. There's a couple other options on the back of the sheet that I provided for council, as well as price ranges in there as well. That's pretty much all I have at the moment in regards to this topic. Thank you.
I have some questions.
Sure.
As mentioned, just as we got started, we've got some portable mics installed on CAO and the mayor. Just curious, is that a possible solution as well, if we were to add some more portable mics and then maybe purchase a new phone that could be used exclusively for that?
It's possible.
Okay. And then just in regards to the OWL, from what I gathered from looking around it, it's kind of more meant for kind of like boardroom meetings where everybody's at the same table. So I'm just wondering, if we were to go proceed with an OWL, we probably would need to kind of change up the orientation and maybe put tables together so we're all around one, there's not a bunch of space in between us. And then maybe we might have to purchase some extra mics because I think it's about like 10 feet.
I heard
the
of that.
microphone.
Yeah. It would be a trial and error process just to get it right. So we would have to kind of figure out what works best. But I agree with you in terms of the layout. We would need to be sitting closer together for it to be effective, and same with the audio. Billy was kind enough to get everybody laved today, and that seems to be helping, which is great. So yeah, I'll keep looking into it.
If I can add, I had a conversation reached out to FBIM to find out if they were happy with the system, and Julie said she and other municipalities are happy with the system. I know that she said it worked in a few configurations, but you're absolutely right. Once we have the system, we would set it up so it for the best working system. The thing that I liked about it and that Julie liked about it is you're not using anybody's cell phone. You're using a system that has switching abilities from one shot to another, and it does it automatically by voice. So in the words of Julie, she said she highly recommended it. She was very happy with it. And I believe Ashley has another testimonial from.
Yeah, I was speaking to the Belfast volunteer member of the Belfast Fire Department who uses it for his work, and he says it's effective. So that was nice to hear. But
So based on our research, I was recommending this for council's purchase. You'll remember that last year we had budgeted a certain amount of money, and through regular cost-saving lens, we were able to not only get some extra cash, which really had nothing to do with us, but the part that did have something to do with us, we were able to save through savings approximately $20,000 or $25,000 over the year. That's the same process that I'm using this year. Anytime we see an opportunity to save money in our expenditures, the idea is to try and save it so that at the end of the year, even though we've budgeted for a zero balance, I'm hoping for a surplus. And the amount that the meeting owl would cost would, in my mind, not put us over. So I'm recommending that we go ahead with that.
I think just a couple of things to keep in mind is that it does need to be powered, so we'll have to run the cord to plug it in. Previously, kind of the cords in the middle of the room weren't accessible by feet, but if we were to put everything in the middle, then cords could potentially be in people's walkways, so we just have to be mindful of that we don't create a tripping hazard.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we should be mindful of is that because the system is like uses sensors to kind of change where the camera is based upon where the noise is, if there's side talk or echoing and things like that, it might cause an issue with it sending the camera where we don't want it or who's not talking. I think that if we were to purchase it brand new, it'd be nice to be able to have the option to try it out, and if it just doesn't work, that we could return it. That would be kind of like really mitigating the risk. And then the other thing is it does need to plug into a laptop, which shouldn't be an issue, but usually those cords are about 5 feet. The further the cord gets, the longer the cord, you can degrade the signal, and you can lose some of that signal strength. And then the other thing I'm not sure about is how we can stream it. Once we get it onto the computer, then we can do whatever we want with it, but I'm assuming that there'll be a way. And I guess maybe just for consideration, it might not always have to be that we live stream the meeting, but that we do post it after, if that became a limitation.
thanks.
Which system is it we're looking at? So you have 3 options here. And I noticed in the picture that they have there seems to be a unit at each end of the table. Are we talking about multiple units in order to make it work, or are we just talking about 1 unit? I think, Kathy, you've had experience with them, do they have 2 units there?
No, just one. So I used it both with FPIM and with the NFL ferries, and they just have one. FPIM boardroom is obviously a lot smaller than this, but the NFL boardroom, I'm gonna say, is from like there over, like it's quite a large boardroom. With FPIM, like talking about the echoing and stuff, we often are having side conversations, and so the way it kind of sets up is whoever's talking, like there's several views you can kind of do a 360, and then there's probably different views that you can choose. But the way she usually has it is it's like a 360 panorama at the top. So whoever's live streaming or whatever, often we use it when we have speakers in, so they can see the entire room as if they're in it. And then in the bottom it would be whoever's talking. So if there are a couple people talking, side whatever, everybody would be there. But it's never been an issue of like side conversations like overpowering the main speaker or anything like that. But it's more so that it just captures everything. Did you have any specific questions for them?
Well, I'm just wondering which system was it they were using. I see there's
I think it's
about $1,000 difference here.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just the cheapest one, the L3, but maybe
That's
Bob.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct, the one that's listed at 1,500 to 1,650 is the L3. That's the one that Julie was recommending.
You can use it on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Just plug it in
Yeah,
and
it's
select
live
what's
stream
the.
it.
And in our case, we then send the results off to YouTube. So.
Yeah, I think you can do it direct to YouTube. And live stream.
I think Charlie had mentioned something about the ability to try it out. I wonder if we do order one, the cheaper one that doesn't work out so well, do we have the option to upgrade and get a full refund on the previous one? Because we're spending money, there's no point in even spending it if it's not going to work correctly so everybody can hear us. Because there has been an issue along the way.
According to Julie, she knows about the other ones, and she had said this is working for them, so that's the one she's recommending.
So it's 30 days trial.
Yeah.
So we have 30 days to try it for time.
It may be a matter of us coming in on another day where we don't have a meeting and just doing a practice run to make sure that we, that it works the way we want it to and the room is set up the way that we need it to be, just so that, it's not a last minute kind of thing for me.
So does it rotate?
Yes.
It's got a fish on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rotate, it just records, it can see
Okay.
everything.
And, like she said, it has to be on the surface level, so like, even like a table in the center that it sits on, if we didn't get closer, like move the tables closer.
I think that you would need to move closer because it can only go about 10 feet.
Okay.
So like I say, there's probably, 15 feet between me and you or more?
That's not a problem to adjust.
No, I think that we could just put 3
Move them
tables
together,
together,
closer,
2
yeah.
like this, 1 like this, and that might be enough.
And then have a table, one together, and have a table in the middle.
So,
I would say, like, given that it's a 30-day refund, like, I think it's worth it to at least try it, and then that gets us off your phone. I think it's a good investment. We can
The
start
rest,
to
no, I was gonna say the rest
um,
is less if there's a 30-day.
Yeah.
and the L3 is the one that's recommended, so I'm suggesting that we try the L3 and do the 30-day trial.
I'll put a motion forward.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder to approve the audio-video purchase for council meetings as described above. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Thank you, councilors. Okay, Municipal Government Act, MGA, Councilor Kenny. As a summary of engagement was sent out earlier, over the past year or more, the government of PEI have been reviewing the MGA, and in March of 2026, the GPEI released a summary engagement. What am I to do with that, Jim?
I hope everybody read that. I know Cash sent it around here. It was quite revealing, actually, because I feel in some ways that it kind of supported what I've been saying all along about the discrepancy between municipalities, that I think that it was was initially conceived, it was ill-advised to lump small municipalities in the same category as large ones. We're all obviously in the MGA. The only parts that really work are a lot of the procedural bylaws that we're required to have. As far as the rest of it, it's identified in the study itself that I think it's quite clear there's been a lot of trepidation on the part of, and even non-compliance on the part of small municipalities for a lot of reasons. You know, number one is just the cost of administration that was lowered onto it, and I guess number two is that it's really set up for municipalities that have are delivering services. And there's a lot of, most municipalities on PEI do not deliver the types of services we're talking about, and we're not faced with things like road maintenance or water or sewer deliveries. And I think that, like it points out that while the 72% of PEI's population is covered by municipalities, the municipalities together only comprise 34% of the island's land area. And 33 municipalities have a population of 500 people or less. So in my mind, and I know I tried phoning some of them and tried to be in contact, asking some questions, and I could never get anybody on the telephone because, quite frankly, they were not following the MGA because they simply couldn't. And I see that government themselves recognized pretty early on that some of the items that were in the MGA simply didn't work. And municipalities were not following them, so they just kind of dropped them off and didn't have any kind of penalties of any sort for not following them. So I think that the next iteration that we see coming out is going to be very, very different from what the original one was. And I'll tell you, one of the things that really kind of bothered me about it more, it was a kind of paternalistic thing I thought was, they said that every municipality has to have an office man for 20 hours a week. Well, when I saw that, I thought, you know, shouldn't it be up to the municipality? A municipality obviously is larger, that has a lot of activity going on. They're going to make a decision to have, you know, a staff, enough staff to cover a full-time operation. But small municipalities, to try to tell them to have somebody in a place for 20 hours a week, that just doesn't work. And I'm quite sure that when we see the next iteration of it, that it's going to be very, very different from the first one. I think they recognize already that there was some significant errors made in it.
Yes, Bob.
Yes, I have to say that I was very pleased with what I had read in the summary of engagement. As you know, rural municipality of Belfast was quite involved in the process because we had significant concerns. I know Jim expressed his, and actually we had attended a number of them. As a matter of fact, Josh was there as well, sitting beside us, so I know that he witnessed it. What I liked about this report is that it actually reflected what they heard, meaning that the larger municipalities thought it was okay, needed a little bit of tweaking. Some of the smaller municipalities had more problems with it. The ones that had capacity didn't really have much of a problem. The ones with no capacity, they had lots of problems. What I was disappointed about with the report, while it did reflect exactly all those discussions that they had, what it didn't do is it did not talk about what the next steps were. If you look on the very last page, number 16, it talks about the service and what we heard, and it did talk about some of the things. Interestingly, RMB fell in the category where some of the stuff in the MGA worked for us, that also worked for medium to larger communities, and then some of the stuff that they wanted did not. So we were sort of crossing both lines on that. But what I would have been more interested in is if they then say, okay, this is what we heard, and like I said, I was very happy with what they wrote, and then tell us the process. So because it didn't, I contacted Municipal Affairs. I already had an inkling of what the process was gonna be, but it was confirmed by some people in Municipal Affairs that now that they've done this, now they have to go back and they have to, well, first of all, find out from the government and cabinet and whoever that they're happy with the report. I'm assuming they're gonna say, thank you for your work, it looks pretty good. Next step is to now go and draft some sort of amendments in the legislation. How do you want to see the change? You already said what works, what doesn't work, but you haven't said what the province's interest is. So, for example, in my discussion with some, when they talk about annexation and amalgamation there were some people that I talked to that felt that, well, the province next step might say they really want municipalization of the whole island to happen sooner than later, and that maybe they'll be looking at more annexation processes or amalgamation processes sooner than later. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because that would be a very political issue. But the other thing that happens, let's say they do make the amendments, then they will have to then present it to the cabinet and their MPs just to find out what their feeling is and how they voted on it, and ultimately they'll come up with some legislation that they pass, and then similar to the Municipal Government Act, they'll then say, okay, you now have 5 years to phase the changes in, or whatever. So in perspective, RMB is not going to be affected by anything they decide to do with the MGA for at least 5 years. That's my bet, that it's going to be at least 5 years, and if it was going to be sooner than that, then maybe it might happen in 3 years. I've never seen government work that fast. So that's my prediction, but regardless, we know that we have the MGA legislation in place now, that we are living up to, and that has been heralded by Municipal Affairs as one of the few communities who have been able to live up to the MGA legislation. However, that's not to say that it won't be appropriate for, well, it'll be a future council to decide on whatever next iteration of legislation comes out. So, in summary, I'm basically happy with the exercise that they did. What I was disappointed with is they didn't tell people what's next, but I'm assuming they'll come out and do that. Maybe they told the FDIA. That's your segue.
That is my segue. So I guess just in rebuttal to Bob, the purpose of this review and the study by Volume 18 wasn't to come up with solutions. They were simply put out, they were contracted to simply review. So while I understand your frustrations and I agree, that wasn't their purpose, so we can't fault Volume 18 for that. That has to come directly from the government and the policymakers.
Well, and I kind of get that this wasn't Volume 18's report. This was the government's report based upon
No,
Volume
this is
18.
Volume 18.
This was their
That's what I
report.
understand.
Kind of the way it read kind of seemed like it was something that was at least modified, and it wasn't theirs. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Based direct efforts.
Mhm.
So to speak to a couple of the other points, so the FPIM annual general meeting was last month. The Minister of Housing and Community, who is currently Ken Dollar, I think he's our fourth minister in the last very recent months. So he spoke to a couple of those points, Bob. So the first one I'll talk to on annexation. in hot water last MGA. I wrote no capitalized 3 times and I underlined it and I exclamation it. Because that's how firm he was that they will not do it, they will not touch it. They do not see it as their responsibility, so they want it to come from us, which is absolutely so ironic and hilarious since they were less than helpful with us even just discussing the topic. But regardless, they will not be touching it. Once the election comes, who knows what happens then, but for this current government, not on the table. The other thing is he did announce that there are changes coming to the MGA, that there will be amendments. He did not provide a timeline. He did not provide anything concrete. What he did say is that they were taking this report and Bottom 18's review into consideration. He recognized that the one-size-fits-all did not suit our province. What he insinuated that would happen is that they would take the approach that other provinces have had, which is that there would be kind of a 2-tiered system for those much smaller municipalities that Jim was talking about that are 500 people or less. And just to speak to that, Belfast is the 3rd largest landmass and we have a population of over 1,600. So my personal feeling is that we will not be included in that reduction of requirements. But, caveat, that will be for the incoming council to decide, not this current.
And it may not even be the next council, it might be the council after.
Yeah, but it won't be us.
No.
Yeah.
Jim?
So my initial suggestion for inclusion on tonight's agenda, and I was not aware of this engagement, this review. I wasn't aware of it at the time when I sent that in. Jim afterwards actually sent it out. What I wanted to know was, I thought every time that we had a discussion of what we would like to see and what we would not like to see in the upcoming MGA. And Catherine just sort of covered the first point that I would have is number one, and that would be that the MGA has to have a cutoff point somewhere along the line, either population-wise or landmass-wise or something, where some rules apply for the larger municipalities and other rules apply for the smaller ones. The procedural rules, there's not any kind of issue with those, I don't think. But the other ones there definitely is.
And Josh, don't quote me as saying that's gonna happen. That's just what I heard, okay? I am not making any guarantees here.
I'll say that you
It might happen.
Well, I think it only makes common sense that the rural municipality, the rural politicians, once they got involved in the MGA, it was very quickly apparent to them, I'm sure, that there was a lot of resistance in the communities. And the agenda is so different from the large municipality to the small one. I don't know if you heard Sate when he was on Compass the other night, he was talking about it. And a lot of their issues revolve around funding and funding for municipal services. They don't get money for road maintenance, they don't get enough money for policing, all the other costs that they have in these municipalities where it's their responsibility, where the province looks after us. But so he kind of indicated that, I think that, I don't know whether this was a personal observation or if it was one as a result of the Federation itself, was that unless you have complete municipal coverage across the province, you're not going to deal with some of these funding issues. And one of the ones that has been raised on time and time again, and it was raised during the time when we had the debates about the schools, was that there's a sort of a feeling in a lot of circles that the rural municipalities are not paying their fair share of things. That they come into town and they use the services that are there. They use their recreational services and just the fact that everything happens in town. that somehow the rural municipalities should be paying a little bit more to, or somehow contributing towards the cost of these things. It was floated years ago, you probably wouldn't remember because it was for your time, when TCAP was initially set up. It was initially set up as being something for all of southern Kings County and part of Queens. And there was feelers were sent out to the various municipal councils to see if they would contribute, and it came back absolutely not under any circumstances. That they would pay a user fee if they're using these resources, but there would not be any kind of contribution coming from the municipalities. And I know that's how I feel myself about it. You know, the real wealth of any country always happens in rural areas, you know, through the fishing and the farming, agriculture, and forestry, mining. That's where the real money, that's where the real revenue comes, or the real contribution to any society comes from. But too often, we don't have enough to say about it. It's left up to people in town, in sitting in offices that probably have a lot of experience in the rural areas. And I think even with the planners, when they get going, when they talk about rural planning, they're not talking about the way we are, where there's very little population. We have got 275 square kilometers of land. We've only got 1,650 people in it. That's one person or one residence per 100 acres or thereabouts. So we don't need a lot of the stuff that they talk about in the NTA, and I know I would certainly be opposed to it. So anyway, what I'm saying is 2 tiers, and I don't like the idea that that every municipality has got to have, is told right off the bat that they have to have an office funded for 20 hours a week, and somebody's sitting there and they don't need it.
If I can add to Chief's comments, those exact comments, and Josh will remember as well, had been said by a number of participants in all the meetings. I think we attended 2 or 3, and those kind of comments were reflected, and as well, if you look at the report that they did, they also mentioned that there was that kind of issue. However, like I said, their next step is to recognize what changes they want to do in the legislation. So that's going to be another consultation period once the change in legislation happens. I happen to have been my previous jurisdiction when I was the director of municipal governance for the Northwest Territories. We did have 2 different systems, and in their case, they called it tax-based and non-tax-based. But what that meant was larger communities, smaller communities. The larger communities were urban, the smaller communities were remote and rural. So they had similar issues, and the 2-tier system did work, albeit there's always complaints and or ways to improve them. But I think that's how we're going to be leaning. So it'll be what I was very happy with, and I salute Catherine, because prior to when the MTA first came into being, there was a lot of call to rural municipalities to say, please give us your input. Well, it was ignored. Nobody gave their input. And the only reason that we get as much coverage now on rural issues is because we have somebody who's sitting on the board. So Catherine gets to speak to the rural issues every time they have a meeting. So that's been a huge bonus for the rural communities and for RMB in particular. But, you know, when the next iteration of legislation comes out, it's going to be very important so that we don't have the same problem that we had the last time where rural people didn't say anything. Now we're going to have a chance to say something and make sure that whatever iterations they come out with, we have a say on that, and does it work for us or not? And so I'm looking forward to when that, well, actually, somebody else is looking forward to when that new legislation comes out, to find out, to make sure it reflects rural values in particular.
I think it needs to reflect that on Prince Edward Island we have a great dependence upon our MLAs, and that when we have an issue in the rural areas, that the first call is not to the municipal council, the first call is to whoever it is that represents you in the legislature, because they're the ones that have got control of almost everything that happens out here. Where the only services that we deliver is that we fund the fire department, we fund the rink, and I guess the emergency measures thing. Other than those three things, everything else we do is just procedural, or we lobby, and the really effective lobby that we have is to lobby our MLA. We've got a good one with Darlene. She'll deal with when we have issues, because we can't deal with them ourselves. We have no input. We're representing the residents of Belfast, so all we can do is just be another lobbying agent, another voice crying in the wilderness, really. And I think that the next iteration should be paying more attention to that in the rural areas, it's our MLAs, because we have such a huge representation. We've got 27 MLAs in the province for 180,000 people. They only got 27 people running the entire city of Toronto. Where they're looking at 80 or 90,000 per person, we're looking at 3,000, 3,500, something like that. So I'm pretty sure that the next whatever comes out next should make it clear that we don't really have any role other than as a lobbying agent in many of these issues that are being raised.
Yeah, is there any more discussion on this? Okay. Federation of Municipalities update, I guess we had that.
Yeah, we pretty well spoke
Okay.
to most of the points. There.
Number 13, their Belfast Fire Department monthly update.
Trisha isn't here, so I was wondering, I didn't get an update for her from the fire department. I did get a couple other updates from her, but I was wondering if we could move the MEMP item.
Well, actually, I'd like to speak to the Belfast department, because there's been quite a bit of activity in regards to the fire department.
Okay.
So if I can do the update for you. This is a good news story. As you know, the fire department is in the process of building or expanding the fire hall. We did have a new contractor. He came out with the actual price. Instead of the assumed 1.4, it came out at 1.32, and that included the HSD. As you know, we had funding from the Canada Community Building Fund. We had funding from the fire department, and the good news, I've been speaking with the Rural Growth Initiative. They have everything they need now. They believe that they will be able to make a decision this week. There was an application for $248,000. Everything that, well, let's just say we're optimistic that is probably going to go through. And then yesterday, Garth and I and a few others, we had a meeting with Ken McDonald, our MP, and that was also a very positive meeting where we talked about the project. We had said out of that $1.3 million, realistically, we're now only looking for approximately $700,000 left, and that we're trying to move forward. As you know, the federal government is always looking for shovels on the ground, projects that are ready to do right away. We mentioned yesterday that not only are the shovels ready to go, and I pointed to some shovels that I had in the office, but that we could have this project finished by the end of this fiscal year if everything goes as planned. And so he did commit to going back to see, there were 3 different streams that he was looking at to see if we would fit into some of that. And of course, we had said any amount that they could come up with, the better. And then we also had some really good discussions with Finance PEI, who is not only willing to give us a really good rate for that, I say, it's not us, it's actually the fire department that would be taking out the financing, but that they would do it over a 25-year, simply to give us the affordable monthly payment that we would need. However, they also said that they would do advance payments or balloon payments without penalty. And so the projection is that the whole project could be completed, as well as the financing, the financing within 10 years or less, and that the project itself may be able to be completed this fiscal year. So it's all a good news story. Kent talked to me again this morning and said, could you send me the information that you guys presented yesterday, because he has some meetings going forward. So everything has been looking very optimistic in the procedures for this Fire Hall project, and I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Oh, Jim can go ahead now, but thank you. I'll go after Jim. I do, yeah.
So, the finance PEI, they're gonna finance it no matter what, irrelevant whether it comes in at $500,000, whether it comes in at $1 million.
Yes.
They're gonna dump the money. So that's not an issue now. As far as an amortization term, are you suggesting it's gonna be 25 years as opposed to 20 or 50? I figured about 20 years. This could be approximately $70,000 per year. It's got to come from the municipality.
No, it was recommended that they do 25 years. That's because if you do that, for example, as Jim said, they were going to finance us no matter how much we needed, even if it was on before. However, even at 25 years, the monthly payments worked out to be almost $11,000 a month. Well, that wasn't affordable. So the goal was to try and find as much money as possible to bring that down. And by bringing it down to about $700,000 now, the monthly payment would be about $4,500 a month. However, having said that, depending on the monies that become available, you will remember that CCDF also said that they would cover finance charges. So, as a backdrop, the next 5-year cycle from CCDF may be able to be applied to that, depending on what it is. That's why when we talked about 25 years, the only reason we're using 25 years is to bring the monthly payments to something that's affordable, and that the project itself will probably be 10 years or less. Now, if you did it over 10 years, well, now your monthly payments are considerably higher, but because they're allowing balloon payments and advance payments, it actually wouldn't matter if they said 100 years. We think it would be doable at this point.
Where would you read 10?
Yeah, closer to 10 or less.
So is there any HST relief that's involved with this when you're dealing with the fire department as a not-for-profit? I'm not familiar with this. Exactly. So I see that there's going to be HST of $170,000.
Yes.
So of course my question is, any of that returnable?
Yes. So, because the Belfast Rural Fire Department is a not-for-profit, they are able to apply for an HST refund. And so there is some monies that will be recoverable. Now, some of it's not. I mean, for example, in the CCBF funding, they will pay for GST, or not pay for GST, but pay for the provincial one, or like was I can't remember. But either way, then some of that, when the fire department applies for the refund, that will be affected in some way. But to answer your question, yes, you're going to be able to get some HST relief.
So is there any idea how much that's gonna be? Is it gonna be
We'll know.
just a federal portion or a portion?
Depends on the quantity, the end amount,
Yeah.
first of all.
So I can only say yes, but there is, but I can't give you specifics because we don't know, we don't know the exact invoices that have come in yet. All I know is, and I confirmed it with our auditor, that they would be eligible for HST relief. We just don't know the exact amount yet.
I think that generally you get 50% back on your GST.
I have no idea.
And then it's, for PEI, I think it's about 35% of the sales tax is generally the rule of thumb.
That's the.
So it's about 6% of 15%.
So it's gonna drop it down to, that brings it down to around $700,000. Anyway.
Correct, but the thing is that you have to finance the full amount first because you have to pay the contractors who are charging on their invoice the HST, and then you have to go and get it back.
So I'm assuming then that with the financing coming through Finance PEI, then they must have an advance, they must have some sort of advance payment system in place then.
Yes, what would happen is they would provide the funds as required. So, for example, it's not like when you buy a house where you say, okay, your house is 500,000, so here's 500,000. What they will say is, you will take the money as you require it. So in a contract that's gonna happen over 6 months, you're gonna get progress payments. So they'll advance what you need. That way you're not paying interest on the whole amount right away. You're just paying interest on what you use. So if we end up using, for example, if you get this where it says up to $700,000, if you don't actually require $700,000, you're not going to be paying interest on $700,000. You're going to be paying on whatever it is you use, because you also may get other monies that come in prior so that you don't have to use up to $700,000.
So we have
The key is up to $700,000.
So I read, I said we have $160,000 in CCBF fund that can be released at any time, and we have got.
No.
Fire department.
Yes and no. They work on a 5-year cycle, so they give you a certain amount, 1/5, because it's 5-year cycle. So every year they give you a fifth.
Yeah, but I thought they were a year behind. I thought we had reported a meeting that we were getting 3 full years ahead of time.
I was talking in general. So if we're talking about right now, the CCBF funds that we've already received is 3 years worth.
3/5.
Yeah, 3/5. So then the next iteration will be April 1st of next year.
$160,000 that we
Yeah.
that could be released at our discretion.
No. What happens is when, because it's a CCBF contract, when the fire hall gives me an invoice, I have to first of all scrutinize the invoice to make sure it's items that the CCBF will cover. And then once I've done that, I can forward the payment to cover the invoice. Because the invoice will often also show the full HST in there, and we can't pay the full HST in there, so we can only pay a certain amount. So there's a lot of auditing that goes on every time they send us an invoice, but we've received 3 years worth of money, and as the project comes in, we will be able to release at least that amount now.
So then there's approximately $220,000 now that's because the fire department's already raised some funds, the amount of 62,000, so we've got 160 plus 62, so we've got about $220,000 that's going to cover the first part of the
Available to pay
that's
the,
available to pay the contractors,
contractors right away, yes.
and then the monies from
But you still need the 700, because if you look on that sheet that I gave you, that monies is already accounted in lowering how much you need. Because it's no longer 1.3, it's now 700, but you're taking into account the CCBF money, and the RGI money, and the firehouse money, so you still need the 700,000 so far, unless the federal government is able to come up with some monies as well.
okay, and the rural growth initiative, that money goes directly to the belt, to the fire department, doesn't go to our belts or anything.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess, are we debating this motion here to?
No,
You are.
Yeah, I only brought it forward because I wanted to give you the good news of the fire hall as part of the fire hall update. I was assuming that Trish might give you something similar, but she's not here. And now, as per Charlie's motion, she had asked that later when we discuss number 9
Okay,
and
we'll
what the
talk about it.
resolution talks about, that'll be after the in-camera. So now we would go to, actually to see if there's anything else that Trish wanted to.
There's nothing else I have from Trish, but I did request that we move the MEMP item up because it's suitable at this time. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. So the new date for the MEMP meeting is hopefully going to be next Wednesday, May 27th at 7 p.m. If you can make it, that would be great. EMO is available to facilitate on that date, so it works well for our office. If council is okay with that, I can reach out to the fire department and some of the groups that we've already established MOUs with to invite them to participate in this roundtable with us as well. This is part of our mandatory training with the province, and the topic is timely, it's wildfires. Also, on that note, I just want to mention that the Belfast Rural Community Fire Department has a new website, and it's really easy to navigate. There's a box that you can click on the main page, and it will tell you if the conditions are right to burn or if there's any restrictions in place at the moment. You can also, it's really easy to get your permits, your burning permits from that website as well now. There's a big red box, you just click on it, and it's very simple and user-friendly. So you can find that at www.bfdpei.com. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ashley, the time of this?
7 p.m.
7?
p.m. next Wednesday in this room. But this is not an open meeting to the public. This is strictly council.
Yeah, it was for me, I need to know that.
Okay. I'm just letting the public know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I might as well keep going, Garth, because I got the ferry update next.
Oh, yes, okay.
Sorry, just one moment. Okay. This is from the NFL. Tricia, Councillor Carter asked if I would share it. So Northumberland Ferries officially began the 2026 operating season on May 1st, and we are looking forward to another strong and successful year as we celebrate our 85th season of service connecting Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. Over the winter and spring months, extensive maintenance, inspection, and preparation work was completed to ensure our vessels, terminals, and operations are ready for a safe and reliable season. With that work now complete, we are preparing to transition to a full 2-vessel service beginning on June 15th, which will significantly increase capacity and scheduling flexibility during the peak travel period. We continue to work closely with tourism and community partners to support regional economic activity and provide an essential transportation link for residents, visitors, and commercial traffic. This season, passengers will also notice a greater presence of our staff members front and center in our communications initiatives. We want to highlight the dedicated people behind the Northumberland ferries, the crews, terminal staff, maintenance teams, and customer service employees who work every day to ensure passengers have a safe, dependable, and comfortable journey. As we mark this milestone of 85th season, we remain committed to safety, service, excellence, and contributing positively to the communities that we serve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trish and Ashley. Is there any other new business? Did I miss?
Actually, I have one more, Bart. Trisha asked me to add Doors Open Down East update as well. This is a small one. The second annual Doors Open Down East was a great success. There is a website this year that is year-round, and she wants to encourage everyone to share it to continue to support local businesses in Eastern PEI. The website is www.doorsopenDownEast.com. Thank you.
Oh yes, Belfast Day.
I just wanted to throw out a save the date for Belfast Days. It's Saturday, June 27th, and Sunday, June 28th. And Saturday, it's going to be a full day located at the Lord's Selkirk Park.
So yeah, it's Saturday, June 27th, Sunday, June 28th. It's a full day on Saturday located at the Lord Selkirk Campground. And this year I'm excited to say we're adding a classic vehicle show beginning at 1 p.m. down by the pool area. And we're gonna have the parade there. We're gonna have many activities, including a blindfold graffiti wall. We're gonna have Belfast disc golf there. We have horse and wagon rides, a pool party, and we're gonna have inflatables, and we even have Firestorm fire performers gonna be there right before the fireworks at 10 p.m. right over the 9th hole tee deck. And then Sunday, we're hoping that there's gonna be live matinee races go off at 2 p.m. at our Connect Raceway. And if there is full races that day, we'll have our annual final race official pace presentation of the cooler and gift to the winning driver and horse of the last race that day. So I'm very excited to pull this together this year and some different activities, try and keep it interesting, and I hope to see many, many people there. I've already had people reach out to me about the parade, so I like to see new things pop up each year to keep it exciting. So hope everyone saves the date.
Good luck, it sounds great.
Good work, thank you. Okay, our next regular council meeting is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026 at 7 p.m. upstairs at the meeting hall in Wood Isles. And if there is no further business, I have a mover and a seconder to move to an in-camera for a confidential HR item. Moved by Charlie, seconder Lynn. All in favor? Nays? Motion carried. Thank you to the general public for showing up tonight.